So visually, if you see things, most of it is about arrangement. Correct. Your desk, your day to day, your room, your offices. There is a lot of thing matters on how things are arranged. Correct. So there, so this is one of the last principles of design, as in of our today, all the topics that we're discussing. It has certain sub uh, topics of five sub principles, not principles. Basically, these are certain arrangements that we'll be talking about and how things go about it. So Gestalt principle has somewhat five arrangements, and let's talk each and every one with certain examples. So first is proximity. Correct. So the proximity principle says that, or you can call it the proximity law. It says that we perceive elements that are closer to each other to belong in the same group. Okay. Now I'll show you with an example, a real life example. Correct. So with just keeping some things aside, they make a difference. So let's go to okay, see this example. If we see this group, this trending on Medium, correct, things are just placed as they are. The heading is in the publisher, and the publisher and the heading, these are just placed, right? But we, as in what the principle says, if they're just kept close, so as in there is no line as such, there is no box created, it's all very plain and simple. But because they are kept close, you can observe that they appear as they're in a group. Correct. They're in a group. It's very simple. So this trending on Medium, it appears as a group because things are just kept closer. Like now, if I give some space, they'll appear different. They'll appear that okay, they're not part of the group. Correct. So maybe if I'll just keep this the right two ones on the left, on the extreme right, they'll appear different. Correct? If you simply keep elements closer, they appear as a group. So it's a very uh, common arrangement which can be used, right? And it's very simple because as humans, our eyes have certain things they perceive, like symmetricity and other things. So if things are arranged well, we ourselves like it better and understand things. That is proximity. Moving forward, we have similarity. So if I'll show you some more example about it, that if you give certain different headings or certain different colors, it will show show different meaning. But if they are within the same group and you just give heading, you'll be like, okay, it appears as if they are similar. So I'll show you a different example from a different page. As so there are two sections right on the left hand side: deals for you in the kitchen and 4-star deals for you. Correct. So there are two separate sections with separate boxes. Correct. But because we have used the exact same design for the different, we can get it. Okay, these two are for deals. Correct. And these two are of somewhat equivalent importance. But because we have used a very similar card for another thing, it is of a different group. Okay, the left one is for kitchen, the right one is some other deals. Correct. But because we as a designers can use similar cards, we have the liberty, because okay, I designed a good section. Okay, there are 4 images and there is a heading, and I can use the same for another one, but that will appear as a different group. Correct. That is what the similarity principle says, that you can use a similar arrangement for something else, uh, uh, and they would act as two different components, but the design would be same. Correct. That is another thing. So very minute differences they have. Just certain arrangement can make a lot of difference, right? That is similarity. And then we have figure ground. It's a um, very common and very useful principle in UI designing. So I'll show you with another example. It's basically, you would have seen pop-ups and dialog boxes, correct? When they open, there is a clear difference between the background and the foreground, correct? Background and the foreground. So if I open something, let's just say if I open this, if I click on E and above, or if I hover on E and above, we can simply see, okay, the right section is very much highlighted because the background has become dull, correct? So that is appearing as the foreground, and the background has become a dark background and has become dull. There is a very clear difference. But if I don't add this backdrop, if I don't add that black background, there could be little hindrance in terms of visibility, right? That thing won't be focused. That pop-up won't be focused. So Amazon has played it very smart using this figure ground principle. That okay, if you have to focus on something important, because I have purposely hovered over English, correct, as in the language. So I need to focus on the language part and not the background stuff. So this is a very smart way to do it. So yeah, figure ground is another Gestalt principle which talks about um, how background and foreground can be played with. And then we have continuation. So continuation is again, like I talked, is just all arrangement, correct? And a very prime example can be seen on all our travel websites. Let's say uh, maybe booking.com, or we have Make My Trip. So see, booking.com has these 4 buttons. Input, there are 3 input sections and then the search button, and they're all clubbed together in a continuation. And same is the scenario with Make My Trip. They have these 5 sections: from, to, departure, return, travelers, and they're all just in a continuous section, right? Because it is a similar information taken in a row. That is why they're all in a continuous fashion. So this is another thing, because these are similar information and must have important information. That is why if you just in a continuous fashion arrange, then it is easier for the user also to add. If I'll only take from and to above, and then after a space, I will take a departure and then return. So it is not a good experience, right? So you can continuously add all the information without any hindrance in between. So that is a good arrangement, right? When you have to take a form, or anything to output, there is a must-have input of multiple things. Then continuation is used. This is how Booking.com and Make My Trip have leveraged this principle of continuation. So that is that. And lastly, we have closure. So this is an interesting one actually. Um, as humans, we can we have an habit of sort of assuming incomplete things, right? As in, if there is a letter, let's just say HELLO, so we can assume that okay, there could be hello world, or you know hey there, something like that. So you can just sort of complete things. And if I'll give you a half statement, so this is an example. The principle which talks about how we sort of complete things ourselves. So some examples of this would be uh, there is something called as a silhouette. Okay, so if you see these images, which are sort of silhouette images, so they don't have any complete information. They are just two contrasting colors, right? They're just two contrasting colors, and we as humans are ourselves able to figure out what they are, correct, even if they're incomplete. So if you see this, there is no space between, right? As in, they're just some random elements placed, but we are able to complete this, that okay, this is the photo of a panda, correct? That is where it plays, and you can play this very well in terms of design. Some examples are, I have few examples that this right example is of CNBC and left is for IBM, right? So even if the IBM text has a lot of rectangles in between, we are still able to complete that. Okay, this is I, this is B, this is M, correct? But on the one hand, they are just some lines placed, right? But we humans are able to sort of fill what is missing. And on the right hand side, if you see this CNBC logo has sort of a peacock in the middle, correct? They are playing with the white space in the middle. So that is one example of how the closure principle works, and you can use it very smartly in your design, to make it interesting and appealing, right? So this is an example of how closure works. So very general things, but it's all about observation and minor arrangement, but which can make difference. So yeah, just sort of a refresher. You might be knowing many of the things, already observed it, but yeah, this is how they are called. It's not necessary to remember the keywords, right? But you should remember the basis of these, that okay, if you'll place the same elements nearby, without any border or without any box, you just keep it nearby with just space, that will also work, correct? Even the minimal design will also work. So just have an understanding of how you can play with arrangement and make more sense with your design.